When we look on social media, we see so many people living their best life, and it affects us psychologically in quite a bad way, to be honest with you. And, we constantly talk about the what ifs and taking the risk and becoming an entrepreneur and instantly making money. But what happens if your path doesn't actually go like that? Instead, it's actually pretty bumpy. Instead, you spend most of the time in the trenches. And I came across this Reddit thread earlier with this guy talking about exactly this, and I thought it was so important to cover, particularly for people who, have not had a straightforward journey where it starts, going drastically wrong. I know mine did. And we just don't see this on social media. In fact, when we do see vulnerability on social media, it's often done in a way to try and make you like the creator a little bit more. And they'll talk about a vulnerable experience, but really what they care about is the views. And I thought this was such an authentic post, and it's on Reddit, and we'll go through it now. This guy says, giving up on life. I'm a 28-year-old single male. I grew up in a small Midwestern town, went to college there, and had a job lined up at a Fortune 500 tech company after graduation. Life seemed like it was on track. I worked there for 2.5 years, but then I decided to leave for a startup that was remote. Things were fine initially, but in April 2023, I was laid off. Thankfully, I received severance and unemployment, but the job search from April 2023 to October 2023 was tough. I couldn't land anything. Maybe I was just being too picky. In January 2024, I decided to start my own business while hunting for work. The business was doing well in the first few months, but by the summer of 2024, the business started crashing. I kept pushing, hoping for a break, but the pressure mounted. So I think when we look on social media, we get bombarded. If you're algorithms or anything like me, we get bombarded with people telling you how to make money quick, telling you how business is very easy, telling you like in 1 month's time, you can go from working at McDonald's to actually running a business doing $1 million per month, right? Just massive, massive over promises. And then when you actually come to the reality of managing a business and things don't go right, straight away, we end up in a situation like this. And the pressure is something that people actually don't talk about too much. The pressure of feeling overwhelmed, of feeling like a failure. And this is what this guy, is talking about right here. So in October 2024, I landed a job, but in December 2024, I was terminated from that job. That's when everything hit me. My business had failed, I lost money, and now I was back to square one. Panic, anxiety, and fear set in. I was barely sleeping or eating and starting to spiral into sadness and self-hatred. The reality hit me hard. I'd been reckless with money, and I gambled it in stocks and memes during the pandemic, hoping it would lift my family out of poverty. I keep telling myself that if I hadn't made all these poor choices, I'd be in a much better place right now. You can see this guy is starting to be filled with regret, which is sending him on a negative spiral. I feel resentful, regretful, there we go, and filled with what ifs. Maybe if I stayed at home when I was laid off, or didn't take the risk to move to Dallas, or didn't gamble away my savings, I would have been in a different place in life. But here I am, back living at home with my parents in a cramped space. It's tough to see my friends progressing in careers and relationships while I feel stuck. If you've been in a similar situation or have any advice, I really appreciate it. I just feel lost and it's hard to stay hopeful. First of all, round of applause for this young man for being open and honest and transparent. When we get on social media and we see everyone living their best lives, and we see people telling us that if you just do these few techniques, money will come easy, it's very easy to make money, etc., etc. When we see all of that, there's something happens called the social comparison bias. Well, social comparison bias is where we compare ourselves to other people. That could be our family or friends. Remember, he said family and friends here. It's tough to see my friends progressing in careers and relationships while I feel stuck. And when we get the perception of everyone doing extremely well, this social comparison bias starts to take hold. We start comparing ourselves, our lives to everyone else. This person's got it easier. This person has a well-off family. This person, is telling me that it's really easy to make money, and I don't seem to be able to make money. Does that mean I'm dumb? Most likely not, to be honest with you. But it doesn't matter if we attack this from a logical approach. It's emotional when people go through these changes, when they start comparing themselves to others. And it has this deep impact on us, which sends us into like this negative spiral. And this is interesting because when we look at social media and we see everyone's doing really well, and we see, everyone's winning, everyone's a millionaire, everyone's driving a sports car, everyone's, in the nicest Dubai apartment. We see it as, everyone is winning. But what we're really seeing is something called survivorship bias. And we're looking at a tiny portion of people who either have made it, right? Or who have appeared to make it, or people who are just showing you their highlight reel. So basically the perception we have of a lot of people winning is not realistic to how everyone's life really is. And it's called survivorship bias. But it still doesn't stop something called social comparison bias, where we compare ourselves to people anyway, even though logically we might know that they're not actually winning. And this causes us to go down in a spiral here and start feeling regret, start feeling like we've made stupid decisions. We start beating ourselves up, which is exactly what this guy's doing. And when we start beating ourselves up, then we start playing things ultra safe. We don't take any risks whatsoever. And it's a real terrible place to be in. And that doesn't even factor in the people who on social media are pretending they're winning, but also living the same life as this guy. And they're pretending they're winning so they can sell more of their courses or whatever their services. I've got nothing against courses, by the way, but so they can kind of push the lifestyle, and they're deliberately engineering that social comparison bias, right? Because they know people will compare themselves to them, and then that will generate interest. So it's a very, very complex problem. And when people show you on social media that everything's going right in their lives, you're not seeing the times where things have failed drastically. So in 2013/2014, when I worked in the bar and restaurant/pub industry, as part of my role, I had to hire new people as well. And when I would hire someone, I would obviously check their, resume. I would then interview them. I would, see if they're competent, see if they understand what they're getting themselves into, etc. And then I would either decline them or, make an offer to them based on that. I did that so many times that I thought, you know what? I've had so many resumes come across my desk, and this was really my first business venture. I've had so many resumes or CVs come across my desk that I know that most people can't actually, write a great resume or a great CV. So I thought to myself, you know what, this is going to be my side hustle. I'm going to design CVs and resumes for a whole bunch of people and get paid. That can be my first business and it'll go really well. Little did I know that business is nowhere near as easy as that. I'd also watched a video from Grant Cardone at that point as well. I didn't really know who he was, but I'd seen bits and bobs from him, and he talked about power base. And when you're building up a new idea, you should pitch this new idea, this business idea, to your friends and family and see if you can get them to pay you first. So I started telling them, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start a business, and it's going to be around creating a CV or resume. And you know what the reaction was from my friends and family? Oh my days, that is amazing. I would love to get your service when it's up and running. Okay, so I thought, amazing, I've just validated this business idea. Now, what actually happened when I created this business and started to go back to my friends and family and say, you know what, I've actually got this business right now. Do you want me to have a look at your CV and resume? They'd say things like, you know what, I'm not looking for a job right now, but when I am, you're going to be the first person I consider. Or they'd say things like, well, I've just submitted my CV to a bunch of places. We'll see if I actually get a good result from that. And if I don't, then you can take a look at my CV. And I thought, you know what? Well, maybe I can actually help people with interview coaching. So I started reaching out to people in 2017/2018 on interview coaching. I was like, I know I'm good at this. I know what to do. I know what hooks me in as a person who is trying to hire people. And I would essentially start reaching out to them about interview coaching. And here is a guy called Adrian who I shot a message to. Hey, Adrian, blah, 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 blah. I'm messaging you because I help working professionals get their perfect job by offering them interview coaching to ace job interviews. Thanks for reaching out. What does it entail? He's like, I'm interested. We end up booking a call together and had a little bit of success with that. I also had a little bit of success with the CV and resume stuff. But ultimately, and I didn't know this at the time, is that the psychology behind a person who wants to interview for a job, most people don't actually think, you know what, I have interviews coming up and I don't feel like I'm very good at it and I feel like I need to improve. People just think they're either good at them or bad at them. And I missed that from all of my marketing because I just didn't know this, customer psychology, that people actually need to be told that they can improve at job interviews. So then after this, I then shifted on to offering career coaching, which went pretty well, to be honest with you. And it was only through that I had a sales call with someone, a person who I was trying to sell career coaching to them. And they essentially only needed career coaching because their business had failed and they were trying to get back into essentially a career again. And when they were talking about my business, I happened to just say, hey, I book a lot of calls with, this career coaching thing. I've been doing it a little while. And then they started asking me, how are you booking calls for your business? And it was only through that point that I realized, you know what, I can actually offer something here to this other group of people, which then started a whole lead gen for small businesses business, right? But I'm telling you that story there because it's absolutely littered with loads of failures and things where I didn't feel good enough. And I was comparing myself to other people. The amount of times where I was looking at like coaching and consulting, and I was thinking to myself, you know what, like I'm not very good at this. The CV and resume business, I thought it'd be easy. It wasn't easy. I started looking at the interview coaching business. Only a few people seem to really want to be coached in terms of interviews, right? And it was only when I, moved from the interview coaching to the career coaching, I started to realize that each time I failed and I was like 10 to 20% better and had a little bit more experience. And then that bit of experience kind of gave me the edge in the next thing. And then when I failed again, I took a bit more experience from that. And each step of the way, all I did was focus on the people who were doing really well. Everything was easy for them, because that is just what humans do. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because if you are in a situation and you feel like this guy from here, feel like giving up on life, that nothing's working out, that you're getting into debt, you are, things just aren't working out for you at all and everybody else seems to be having a smoother run, know that at some point they too will have something go wrong. But it's only the people who essentially understand that life goes in ups and downs like that. You only really get experience from the failures that you have. That those are the biggest learning experiences and where you can really start to craft your character into more of a resilient person. Speaking of resilience, when I was also trying to do my CV writing business, I was testing out a whole bunch of different ideas that I wondered if I would be interested in, and I was also testing out to see if there was a market as well. And this is a cold email I was sending to people, to blog owners. So I told you guys I've been doing this a long time. This is 9 years ago when I was cold DMing people. And in this email here, we could see I've messaged a guy called Jack and it says, I'm a reader, fan, and freelancer. I noticed that as well as having a popular blog, you are, highly regarded as a coach. Can I offer you productivity coaching? So back then I was putting together all the skills that I was good at. And it was the interviewing, the CV stuff, how to be more productive, because I am a productive person. I'm very efficient. And I was like, I know that I can start, I have a skill here that I can teach other people. Anyway, I messaged Jack here, who then responded to me and completely chewed me up. He says, hi Rob, I don't know how you got my details, but you may well have missed that, and I have been in the field for nearly 30 years and have coached all around the world with folks across most sexes at the highest level. I only mention this to help you move forward, because if you're going to cold email prospects, you absolutely should take more care, and instead of cut and paste introduction, you really should take the time to construct an appropriate and specifically accurate approach fit. You need to know that what you're doing is a huge turnoff. And I can only imagine that you are missing out on what might be. At a minimum, it would be good to have a link to it, an exciting web page, including testimonials of your clients. I could have just junked this, but I had to start out too, and without learning as I went along, I wouldn't have gotten past my third year. As someone else has said so often in a well-meaning way, I am out. When I received that email in 2016, dude, it cut me up. I didn't have the thick skin from cold pitching people or sales or anything like that. I'd sent out testing this new offer, probably 50, 60 emails or something like that. And he was like the only person who responded. He responded with such like looking back, it's just a constructive criticism message. He could have probably been a bit nicer. And I feel like he did try and, assert his authority, probably a little bit too much. But he messaged me that, and I remember I didn't cold outreach to anyone in like for like a month or two afterwards, because I was like, I suck at this game. People hate me. I'm not good at it. I carried on trying to pitch my CV service to my family and friends and to also contacts of their contacts, but cold trying to set up a different business. It didn't work. And I have a million little tiny failures like this all the way along, things which really put me off, that set me back, that made me think I was a failure. And again, it comes down to that survivorship bias, seeing everyone on social media doing a really good job and everyone winning, that social comparison bias as well. And so my point is that when you're going through something like this, remember these two biases exist, and remember they hold you back and they make you feel inferior and make you feel like a failure. But truth be told, you only get the experience by going out there and failing, knowing that you are going to get hurt and knowing that you are going to do it again and knowing that you are going to fail again until something eventually does work. And this was 4 years before I had my lead gen business. So I went, and I don't know if I took it to heart subconsciously, but I went over the next few years, got much better at lead gen to the point where I could teach other people about it, had some of the highest call booking rates in the industry by sending out, DMs and by wording it in specific ways. And then after that, I started to add persuasion, which is what you guys know me for, and psychology to various different emails. But the point of this is that if you look at any single point, I mostly sucked, right? And that's what that guy's going through right now. And I'm sharing this because I hope it helps you as well, knowing that inevitably you're going to suck. You're going to feel like a failure. You're going to feel not good enough. Your family and friends are inevitably going to look like they're doing much better than you. People that you don't know on social media are going to look like they're doing way better than you. And they're also going to minimize the problem as well to try and sell you the courses. And it's going to suck until it doesn't one day. And then you'll be happy, the learning curves and the pain that you went through. Okay, guys, different video from me today, but I hope you enjoyed that. If it resonated, let me know. Take it easy. See you in the next one.